So for the newest and youngest NFL players that you come across and interact with, do you get a sense that there is more inherent interest in investing? Is the mentality shifting among the younger folks?
No, there's no question. The mentality and really the culture is changing. It's become the talk of the locker room. What's the newest, hottest crypto? What's the newest, hottest real estate deal?
What is the hottest crypto in the locker room? Please tell us.
One of the most recent ones, actually in our group chat, one of our older vets put in Solana. So that was an interesting one that came across my table, and I kind of laughed because I had heard about it pretty much about 2 or 3 weeks before he had actually sent that message. So it's always interesting, and it's instead of guys being in the locker room talking about, oh, let's go to this club, let's do this, and this party was the best, and I'm excited to do this weekend. It's like, all right, what's this real estate deal that you're working on? What's your idea over here? So the culture and just the way things have changed in the locker room since when I first got into the league to where it is now is tremendous, and I think it's a good thing, but it's also a little bit dangerous because everybody sees everybody making a ton of money from these different pieces and not understanding the risks and rewards and all the different pieces within it. So I think we also got to start to educate each other, and I think that's the importance of that is not only on themselves but also just as a collective group of older gentlemen like myself to help them understand what you're getting yourself into.
And as you're making housing more accessible, obviously financial literacy becomes that much more important for people who are accessing these forms, these relatively new forms of housing. So I want to go back to the financial literacy aspect of this. You started the Suh Family Foundation 10 years ago, and you guys have teamed up with the personal finance app Stash. You're working on something called Stash 101, which teaches students about personal finance with banking and investing simulation. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what you're trying to achieve with Stash 101 and maybe what that is teaching students that you didn't have access to growing up?
Yeah, being able to learn about financial literacy at a young age is very, very important to me, and not only to my wife, who's the main leader of the Suh Family Foundation, and then we obviously were fortunate enough to have a great partner in Big Yard Foundation with Brendan Scarlett, who's a close friend and training partner, linebacker for the Miami Dolphins. So first and foremost, we wanted to start in my back home and our back home of Portland, Oregon. And so we worked with the Portland Public Schools District to work with their youth in their middle school this summer to create a program that was really Stash 101 times a summer school organization that they were doing. And so creating that, putting this information to these kids' ears and eyes and letting them work it hand in hand at this early age was something that we felt was very, very important. And not only to be able to have athletics mixed in with that and play games and be accountable for all the different pieces of whether you want to, how you want to set up your 50, 30, 20 from a budgeting perspective. I think it's important to be able to say, work through these exercises and then really have these conversations with your parents and see what they know and see what you may teach them, vice versa. And so at the end of the day, our big focus was to continue to expose our youth to these different tools so that they become second nature to them as they become young adults, because it's going to be something that they deal with in real life very, very soon as they get off to college, and really even before they may go to college and high school.
And Ndamukong, in the past decade, we've seen an influx in professional athletes who are dedicated to planning for financial stability after their sports careers, rather than relying on the sponsorship deals after retirement. What do you think is sparking this change in how athletes think about their post-playing careers?
I think the excitement is really centered around the ability to be more than an athlete. And I think that's something that's exciting to be able to say, guys, have the focus and the want to say, all right, I can have a great NFL, NBA, MLB career, but at the end of the day, I still am a human being. I'm a young man or woman that wants to aspire to be something else and be able to have be multidimensional. And I think that's something that I pride myself on very much so, from being able to say, hey, having a great career playing in the NFL, want to continue to play at a high and elite level, but I am more than an athlete, and I'm also an engineer, an entrepreneur, and I can run a company and start my own company and help other folks continue to grow and build other things. So something that I've always said, I want to be more than be known more off the field than I was on the field, which I know I put up a big task because I've done some good things on the football field.
You know, look, pro athletes have an infamous history of losing control of their finances after retirement. In fact, I think over 15% of NFL players file bankruptcy within 12 years of retiring, according to the stat I read. I mean, does that knowledge going into your career in the NFL, I'm sure that's sort of impacted the way you thought about it, and maybe there's a fear aspect there. A lot of guys are saying, I don't want to end up in that 15%. I want to be responsible now. And is the NFL itself, in terms of the commissioner's office or the teams, are they doing a good enough job to get the players educated and thinking about their post-playing career?
I think the players, NFLPA as well as NFL, do a pretty good job at the very beginning, especially as rookies and second-year guys. But as you get older and understand things, you have to kind of educate yourself that much more. And I think for me, like you said earlier, the fear. Being on 30 for 30 was not something that I wanted to ever aspire to be unless it was on the positive side of things. Obviously not going broke or anything like that. And so that was kind of been always my thing, is like, I want to save my money, I want to make the right decisions, and really focus on not being one of those guys that are a part of the statistics. And I've been fortunate enough to continue to play at a high level and play for many more years, but ultimately you got to find ways to not overspend, and I think that's where people want to live that same lifestyle when they were playing, post living, versus saying, all right, let me be smart and save, and then as I've been able to make my money work for itself, I can start to spend as I get older and get into true retirement. Because for me, I've got kids now, and I know for the next 18 years I'll be working in some form or fashion, taking care of them. If they're anything like
your post-playing career is be a father, dad.
Exactly.
That's the job
And if they're anything like me, I know they're gonna be eating nonstop, so I'm gonna have to bring tons of groceries home.
If you like what you saw and you like what you heard, you can listen to the entire episode of this podcast, Business Casual, anywhere you get your podcasts. And please go ahead and subscribe to the Morning Brew YouTube channel, and go ahead and click on that alarm bell, that thing right there, so you can be alerted anytime there's a new video.